Story 1. I think my sister-in-law's best friend is trying to get with my husband, and she's encouraging it. Am I delusional? My sister-in-law, 23 female, is my husband, 28 male, half-sister. She was the product of their mother's infidelity. His father divorced their mother when he was 12 after he found out through a paternity test she wasn't his. My father-in-law refused to have anything to do with my sister-in-law, but continued to have a relationship with my husband. Because of this, my sister-in-law is very clingy to my husband. My husband is also very protective of his sister and generally doesn't tolerate anything negative being said about her, which is why I'm posting this here before mentioning anything to him. My husband and I bought a house last year, which has its own indoor swimming pool. My sister-in-law was super excited when she saw it and asked if she could use it sometimes with her friend. We said it was fine as long as she gave us a notice before she turned up. Her and her friend Chloe have used it many times before, but almost never when my husband is home. He's a lawyer and works long hours. With the lockdown, my husband started to work from home. My sister-in-law asked me if she and Chloe could come over and use the pool. I told her I was uncomfortable with them coming over as I'm pregnant and don't want to accidentally expose the baby to anything risky. My sister-in-law then asked if she and Chloe quarantined for 2 weeks, would they be able to come over? My husband said it was fine. 2 weeks later, they turned up at my house. My husband was in his office, so they went straight to the pool after making small talk. My husband ends up coming out after an hour and we're hanging out in the kitchen. My sister-in-law walks in to get a drink and she starts talking to my husband. Before she goes back to the pool, she says, "Chloe's going to be so happy to see you." It was weird because my husband and Chloe aren't close. Chloe comes into the kitchen 2 minutes later and spends the rest of her time talking to my husband until he excuses himself to get back to work. She's super giggly and smiles when she talks to him. He would say something sarcastic and she would laugh like it was the funniest joke she's ever heard. It honestly felt like she was flirting with him. Before she went back to the pool, she gave me this weird smirky look. Before they leave, they ask my husband if he's working from home every day of the week. He confirms he is. The next 2 weeks, they come over to the house to swim every single day, except Chloe never gets in the water. Instead, she hangs around the house in her bikini, she was previously wearing a one-piece if that makes a difference, every single day. Whenever my husband comes out to hang around me, she quickly interrupts him and keeps him talking until he has to go back to work. I made lunch for us all, and when I excused myself to call my husband down, my sister-in-law quickly stopped me and said Chloe could call him for me. They shared a look, and Chloe looked really happy when she went to get him. Chloe has also started to get touchier with my husband. She puts her hands on his chest and arms, stands or sits really close to him. To my husband's credit, he does usually create space between them whenever she does something like this. The reason I believe my sister-in-law is in on this is because she made a few pregnancy-related jabs at me recently. She told me a story about how one of her friend's boyfriends was cheating on her and they'd said something along the lines of, "Did you know a lot of men start cheating when their wives are pregnant?" She also made comments about how I look chubby now and it looks weird next to my husband because he's well-built. If she spots my husband out of the office, she quickly goes to inform Chloe. I know pregnancy hormones can mess with a person's brain, so I'm wondering if I'm just looking for something that isn't there. My sister-in-law sent me a text yesterday asking if they could come over to swim next week. I really want to say no, but I know she'll whine to my husband if I do. I ideally want to have a conversation with him before then, but I'm not sure if I should mention flirting. Am I being delusional? So, I don't know if this person is being delusional or not, because we're only getting their perspective, and maybe in their minds, maybe hormones or jealousy or something is kind of amplifying how they're telling us about this stuff. And that's okay. That's totally human. But her comfort with this is still important. And so, at the very least, I would say that this person does need to have a conversation with her husband. And I don't think I necessarily phrase it as, they're trying to encourage cheating. That's their plan. Your sister she's plotting. I wouldn't put it that way. I would just say, it does make me a little uncomfortable. And maybe Chloe is just kind of flirty and close by nature, but it's really just not something I'm comfortable with. Do you think that you could maybe mention that to them or something? Like, I would start off there because I do feel like if you go in guns ablaze and just like, j'accuse, then it might not turn out the best. That might start things off, a little too high of a volume. I could be wrong. They might absolutely be plotting something because from the way this reads, this sounds really, really suspect. And the hanging around the house every day in a bikini and never getting in the water, that's a weird one. Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like a great situation, but I definitely would not start off by saying that. Story 2. My high school, Virginia, just announced all bathrooms are off limits for the rest of the semester. I'm a senior. I'm on my period. I'm actively bleeding in my school chair while typing. The only accessible bathroom is in the office, so we aren't allowed to bring any bags in there. If we're in a stall for more than 5 minutes, it's considered suspicious behavior, and they have the right to search us. The office is 10 minutes away from any core classrooms because of how my school is organized. I shouldn't have to miss 20 minutes of class to use the bathroom. I don't vape, I don't loiter, I use the bathroom normally. I am small, I have a small bladder, I drink water all 8 hours of my school day. If it isn't obvious, I'm fuming. Others should have to pay the price and suffer. I'm not going to comply, I have nothing to hide. What can I do? I really have to pee while writing this, and walking to the other side of the school is too risky. I would absolutely bring this up to, the news. I would show this to journalists, make a TikTok, and get this thing viral, and put that school on blast for their absolutely unacceptable rule. I don't care what brought this on. You can't tell students that bathrooms are off limits except for one bathroom in the office. That's not okay. That's inhumane. Prisons don't do that, okay? So whatever school official thought up this absolutely dumb F idea, this absolute just turd of an idea that squeezed out of your butthole of a brain is so unbelievably infuriating. All of these students should protest and march out. I get infuriated when there are teachers who try and restrict bathroom use, but for a whole school to basically say that for the entire day, even in between classes and everything, no using the bathrooms, no taking over 5 minutes or we can search you. Nope, not okay. Not okay in the least. And whatever problem you had, this solution isn't it. It's absolutely just flooring me how bad of an idea this is coming from people who are supposed to work in education. You're supposed to be teaching these kids, but you came up with this? F-. See me after class, you dorks. Story 3. Charged them for the same family rate they charged me. My child's daycare had a death in the family. It's a small family-owned place, so this affected all the employees. They sent out an email at 3 a.m. I couldn't miss work as I had a very important day, so I scrambled to find a sitter just for that day. My stepbrother's girlfriend was basically the only person I know that doesn't work, so I called her. She says, sure, but I can only watch him for 6 hours, and I'll give you my family rate, so it will only be $200. I asked if she was serious. She assured me she was, and that this was her livelihood, and she takes it very seriously. That she was already offering me a family discount. Please note that it was not her livelihood. My stepbrother has a great job and is always paid for everything. He has tried to get her to do anything to earn money, but she refuses to work and believes he should support her fully, including daily Starbucks, hair, nails, designer stuff, etc. Please also note that I had done a lot for this girl just to help her out. This list is long. I agreed only because I would have lost my job had I not gone to work that day. I paid her $200, which she demanded up front, to get to work for a little over 4 hours after factoring the commute. Fast forward a couple of years, they've separated, they have a kid, and she is living for free in his dad's extra house and driving my dad's extra car for free. The ex pays all the bills and necessities. She finally breaks down and gets a job because he stopped paying for her hair, nails, etc. She has a day when her childcare falls through and sends out the same request I did. Can anyone watch my kid? I have to go to work or I'll get fired. I told her I could absolutely do it, then charged her the same bogus price she charged me. I told her it was the family rate. She cussed me out. Why would she do that? Why wouldn't she be so thankful that you're giving her the family rate? What a generous thing for you to do. She should have been like, thank you so much. Or at the very least, to be more serious, the fact that she cussed you out instead of going, okay, I see what I did back then was real crappy of me to do, and I feel bad for that. How can I make it up to you? I need help. But no, to cuss her out and be like, how dare you, you're in the wrong, or whatever she said, just mind-blowing to me. Just absolutely, and it makes me so mad. Also, 6 hours of babysitting, $200. Like, I know some people try and pay babysitters way too little. Like, they're like, don't worry, I'll give you $2 an hour. Aren't you lucky, kiddo? It's like, no, what? But that's over $30 an hour. That's a lot. That's like, what, $33 an hour, essentially? That's too much money for babysitting, I feel like. I mean, and if it's not, woof, I know the economy's bad, but come on, $33 an hour for babysitting? No, unless that baby is the devil. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband and his family not to call me a nickname? So my name is Lucy, 28 female. My husband, 31 male, has always been super fond of nicknames and has given me plenty of them. They constantly change, and I have never minded any of the ones he's given me before. They're all quite harmless, usually food or animal related, but they tend to stick for a while. His family also uses nicknames. They occasionally give me one too. It's often the same one my husband uses if it isn't too sappy. Again, I don't mind them. In fact, I usually find it quite cute and endearing. Until recently. My husband started calling me Lulu. Let me give you the context. I was called Lulu growing up exclusively by my mother, and she passed away not long before I met my husband. I took her loss pretty hard. I told him that it has a lot of emotional significance for me, and that it doesn't feel right to hear anyone else say it. He respected that for years, and so did his family. But recently, his sister has been referring to me as Lulu whenever I wasn't there, according to what I've been told. And I guess he naturally picked up on it. It's irritating because it's not like he forgot about my reasons behind it. He'll hesitate before saying it, like he's trying to see how I'll react. I've reminded him calmly a couple times that I would appreciate it if he did not call me that. There's plenty of other things I didn't mind him calling me. Nothing that had emotional weight. The other day, he said that he didn't see the big deal anymore. It had been some years and I should be over it by now. That it's just a nickname. He said it lightly, like he was trying to let me down easy, but it stung. Maybe I overreacted, but I was hurt by it. I packed a bag and I'm currently staying with my sister. He and his family texted saying I'm doing a lot over a little nickname, and I'm thinking maybe they're right. I want to get past this because it feels petty at this point. Am I the a-hole? So fun fact, names mean a lot to me. And I believe that you have the right to choose what you want to be called. And when people don't respect that, screw those people. I get so very, very mad at those people. If someone genuinely says, look, I know it's a nickname, we had a laugh, I did a little like, come on, don't call me that, but seriously, I don't actually appreciate being called that, you stop calling them that. Whatever it is. Even if you have like a longer name and there is a really common shortening of the name that people like to use all the time. Like you've got, people call Michael's Mike, or people call, Steven Steve, whatever, stuff like that. If you don't like the shortened version and you tell someone that, but they continue to call you that, then those people are a-holes. Absolutely. You have the right to choose what you are called by people. And when they don't respect that, they are disrespecting you. And this situation in particular, the fact that there is an emotional component behind it, and this husband is saying just like, it's been long enough, you should be over it by now, it's no big deal. He doesn't get to decide that. So is like packing your bag and staying with your sister maybe a little much? I don't know, honestly. The fact that you've told him time and time again and he's refusing and then just ignoring your feelings on this, yeah, I don't feel like you're in the wrong. I don't feel like you overreacted. And frankly, if they can't respect that, then just start calling him, leaky butthole. Just never call him anything but leaky butthole, especially when he's at work. Call him leaky butthole. And when he goes, okay, that's enough, just upgrade it. Make it worse. Make it just viciously worse. Just call him the worst things in the world and wait and see, how he likes when you don't respect his name, I mean, don't actually do that. Also, don't say like the worst thing in the world. They're like really offensive things, but call him gross leaky butthole or call him Mr. Little Wiener. Give him that one for a while. I don't know. Again, don't make fun of appearances. That's not right. I'm mad. This is important to me. Story 5. French students harass and bully me for asking them to speak English in an English-taught class, so I get them expelled. Hi all. Throwaway for obvious reasons. This happened a few years back in China at one of the universities there. Here, I was studying Chinese language, and I shared my language class with some people from France and Belgium, the French-speaking part. Our Chinese teacher was a really nice little lady that happened to also speak French, so often, whenever the French speakers had a question, they would ask it in French. Now, I didn't really mind it all that much, but at some point, it got to the point where about half of the questions in the class were asked in a language I did not understand. Obviously, that's detrimental to my own learning experience, since understanding the questions is important for me to learn the language. So I politely asked them if we could just do the class in English because about half of us didn't understand what was being asked. Leoshi, the teacher, was very nice about it and afterwards asked the students if they could rephrase their question in English when they asked it in French. But apparently the French and Belgian girls and guys didn't take it so well. They were constantly glaring at me and whispering among themselves in French. Well, I just shrugged and moved on. However, outside of class, they were always sticking together in their own little group doing things together. At first, they would just walk past me when I was sitting down having a beer with my friends, and they would simply glare. But at some point, it came down to them cursing, talking crap about me to other students, and spitting on my lap when I was sitting in the park. Obviously, I was seething, so I might have called them a few words, which were a bit too unsavory. Anyhow, they didn't take it well. So the next day, I found out that they scribbled all sorts of things on my dorm room. It said characters for basically F your mother and the Nazi. I don't actually know why they put this one. I think they thought I was German, which I'm not. Obviously, I was peed, but I really didn't know what to do, so I reported them to the International Student Office. ISO was really nice and understanding, but told me they can't actually do much unless I provide proof that something is happening. Thus, I went on Taobao and bought a little recording camera. Looked a bit like a dash cam. It had the time and date and everything. And the university had painted my dorm room over. They couldn't get the marker off, apparently. I hung up the camera in a corner of our dorm corridor and pointed it at my door. Then I left and made sure to loop around a little bit to walk past the group of French/Belgians so that they knew I was leaving campus towards the metro station. I had some nice dumpling soup and a beer, and when I came back, look and behold, once again, they were hardly creative with their insults, just more of the same, but this time I had proof. I checked the video and I was very pleased. 5 out of 7 of the group were actually there, and all wrote down something on the door with a permanent marker. One of the guys even kicked the door, which caused a crack at the bottom. These doors were not very sturdy. They seemed to have a lot of fun doing it. Now, of course, the school was properly peed when I showed them the video. Normally, the students would just get a stern warning, but because ISO was aware that they were doing it before, and also about the fact that they were harassing me all the time, I reported everything to them when it happened. They were less than understanding this time and suggested the board that had to decide on this one. No idea what their name was, I couldn't recognize their name in Hanzi, to expel the students. And so they were. All of this took place over the course of a couple of months, so we were nearing the end of the semester. The 5 students who scribbled at my door got expelled just before their exams, which meant that all the time they spent at the university was effectively worthless since they did not receive any credits for it. But it gets even better. After this whole ordeal, I sent a neat, anonymous letter in Chinese, one of my Chinese friends helped me write it, to the Public Security Bureau that these students had engaged in vandalism at our university. A few weeks later, after I'd already returned home, I was told by a friend of mine who was on good terms with their group that some of them had booked tickets and hostels to travel in China at the end of the semester. However, their visa extensions was denied by the Public Security Bureau on the basis of their misdemeanor at the university. I'm not sure if the second part was caused because of my letter or simply because the university informed the police, but I like to pretend that it was the former. So, I was just laughing my butt off as they slaved away half a year in courses for which they would receive no credit and had to cancel thousands worth of travel plans. That truly was a sweet, sweet feeling. I love a good story where when people are a-holes, they pay for it because it doesn't always happen. Does not always happen in the world, but sometimes people are a-holes in a way where there's evidence and it all just comes crashing down around them. And yeah, why were these people so mean about it? It's like, seriously, if it's a class that is stated to be in English and you're specifically half the time not speaking in English, excluding half the class, then that's being crappy. You would have to realize I know English isn't as easy for me as French, but I did sign up for an English-speaking class, and so I should probably respect that, so all the students get the value from the class, and not just us. But no, apparently that was asking too much of them, and so they wanted to be jerks, and They got to pay for it. Great. Wonderful. I love every bit of this story except for the stuff that the poster had to go through to get justice. So, and for those students, boy, I hope they were mad. I hope they were just livid. I hope they just imagine losing a whole semester abroad, interrupting whatever you're trying to do with your life. Mwah. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.